Welcome back to the Sales Pulse podcast. Today, we're going to talk about those sales that you keep chasing. Did you ever think that if you stopped chasing them, they might start chasing you? I'm Marla Koupal, the Sales Conversation Architect. Subscribe to the Sales Pulse podcast on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. Grow your perspectives and fun insights on ways to sell. Drop those old scripts, drop those old ideas, and make sales fun. The oldest profession in the world is sales. And so many times you've been taught to manipulate, to practice this phrase, practice that phrase, always be ready for objections. When really, most objections are just an unanswered question. Today, I want to poke at something else and provoke some new thought and some positivity towards selling. I'd love to know your reactions later in the comments. I read a quote from Mark Manson recently. It says, "The people who seem most at peace aren't the ones who got everything they wanted. They are the ones who stopped wanting everything they couldn't have." Naturally, people are arguing with him. Why? Because we live in a culture that we're addicted to chasing. We're chasing the sale, we're chasing the algorithm, we're chasing the lead, we're chasing the lifestyle, we're chasing the next funnel. We chase 6-step persuasion systems written by somebody who sounds like they drink espresso through a megaphone. But what if sales actually works better when you stop chasing so hard? I'm not saying stop caring. I'm not saying stop working or stop improving. I'm saying stop gripping and grasping at everything like you only have straws. Most awkward sales conversations are not caused by bad people. They're caused by emotional overreaching. The seller wants something too badly. They want approval, they want validation, they want money, they want momentum, they want proof that they're succeeding, and they want proof that they are enough. Whew, that's a lot. And the buyer feels each of those immediately. Human beings can sense emotional neediness faster than a dog hears a potato chip bag open. You can hear it in conversational pace. The seller talks faster, they explain more. They're nervous around silence, so they keep talking, and they overhandle any question or concern before it even becomes a problem. The conversation loses its humanity. If we look at selling conversations as a rhythm, you don't have to be the hunter crashing through the forest. You just need to set up a rhythm, a pace in the conversation, then your results can change. When you see selling as a rhythm, you're into managing your energy, you're stepping into more observation, you're willing to be curious about the buyer, and the buyer might even be curious about what you have, and you're going to adjust your timing. This means you will be remaining present for your buyer. Have you ever thought about the best salesperson you worked with? Have you ever thought that the best salespeople are not the people who control the conversation, but the people most willing to experience it? It changes everything. When you realize the goal is not, how do I get the sale? The goal can become, how do I stay connected long enough to discover whether my offer actually fits this buyer? This unique emotional posture that you, the seller, creates is actually the posture that creates more sales. Many people think that the phrase from the quote, "Stop wanting what you can't have," means lowering your ambition. Not at all. It means stop emotionally attaching your identity to outcomes you cannot control. This will create your freedom to sell with ease. You can want the sale without emotionally collapsing if it doesn't happen. You can invite people into conversations with you without pressure. You can guide conversations without forcing, and you can suggest without performing. Each of these create lighter conversations. Lighter conversations are magnetic to buyers. Think about the people you enjoy buying from. Enjoy is the operative word here. Don't you feel that they're relaxed? They're not lazy, but they're not urgent. They're certainly not passive. They're emotionally grounded. They seem to be in neutral, yet they relate to everything that you say and are seeking, and they clarify it. If you want to have more fun with sales, then maybe the goal is not to try to win something. Allow them to understand you and allow yourself to understand them. This distinction is enormous. Let's take this example. A coach is on a Zoom call with a client, and before they've even understood how many coaching programs they've tried, where they haven't followed through in their past purchases, the seller immediately starts talking about all the PDFs, the support, the video support, the community access, all the things, the features that they have to offer. And they might even be throwing in a partridge in a pear tree. I don't know. But the buyer is sitting there thinking, I'm not even sure I trust myself to follow up and use this program. If the coach isn't listening, then that sale is definitely never, ever going to chase you. Nobody slowed down long enough to discover what the buyer was thinking. So let's imagine a different version. The seller says, before I go into any details, tell me what you've already thought of or tried so I can see what we have that might help you. Now you're getting somewhere real. The buyer exhales because you're not starting by listing off all the things that you have. You feel comfortable because they've noticed the human that you are, and they're speaking with you. They're not shutting anything down. This is a fun part of sales that nobody talks about enough. Discovery, hearing the buyer's distinctions, of watching people think in real time, watching light bulbs come on, watching someone connect the dots they had not connected before. All of this is what makes selling fun and exciting and keeps you on your toes. Sales becomes miserable when all you care about are extracting outcomes. Sales becomes energizing when curiosity enters the room and you truly love to meet that person in front of you. And here's another uncomfortable truth about sales and business. A lot of people are exhausted in business because they're trying to control too much. They're trying to control the algorithm, the reaction, the timing, the buyer, the outcome, the follow-up, the impression, the exact wording, and the pace of the conversation. Whew. No wonder everyone sounds tense online. You can practically hear people hyperventilating, and there probably aren't enough brown paper bags to help them out. And if anybody's promising you 97 psychological triggers to get people to say yes before breakfast, I think you should just race on by. People are starving for normal human conversations. And the people who learn how to create those conversations are going to stand out more and more over the next few years, especially as AI grows. AI is really great for making connections and setting up those first conversations. But how well can it relate to closing people? I'm not too sure everybody's always going to get the warm fuzzies they want from that. I use AI, but only to make the first step. Sales are made because humans crave emotional safety. And who gives that to them best? You, the human. They still want to feel understood, seen, respected, not manipulated. This is why observation matters more now. The great sellers I know have mastered these things: emotional steadiness, the ability to stay relaxed while everything else feels very uncertain, the ability to stay curious while silence is happening, the ability to hear hesitation without panicking, and that steadiness that changes the energy of everything. When the buyer stops feeling processed, they start participating. That's when conversations become fun. They're not transactional, they're not robotic, and they're not scripted. They're alive and they breathe. They're messy sometimes. They have unexpected things come up in the conversation, but you know how to regroup. Human always is the name of the game in sales. And ironically, the sale you stop chasing will sometimes start chasing you. People trust calm energy. They trust grounded energy. They trust conversations where they're allowed to think instead of being hurried toward a conclusion. So, this is your sales pulse check for today. Maybe the goal is just to control less and become someone who can be fully present and ignoring that need to control. Thank you for listening to the Sales Pulse podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. I'm Marla Koupal, reminding you that sales is just a conversation until it isn't.